What's going on, Unfazed crew? I hope you guys are having a wonderful night or day, whatever time it is where you're at. And anyway, here we are in front of the theater doing another movie rant ranking type video. And I really enjoyed the last one that we did, the top 100 of the New York Times. It was really easy to do. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It had a nice vibe. And it didn't really do super well. It didn't perform well on the channel, but one of my really close friends, Martine, said he thoroughly enjoyed it, and I got a couple other nice compliments from some of you guys. So it seems like you like it. So I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep this format going. And shout out to my boy Martine. Make sure you guys check out his channel. Link down below. Check it out. He did some really cool stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'm back at it. I'm back at it doing some ranking lists. And this is one I've been thinking about doing for a while, and I think it's an appropriate time to do it and the perfect setting for it. So I'm going to be ranking horror icons. And this is my own personal top 50 list. Of course, I consulted IMDb. I looked at, the top 100 horror icons, and I condensed mine down into the top 50. And like I said, this is my personal list, so if you guys disagree, screw you, because this is my personal preference. So we're going to start off with number 50. These are the most iconic horror icons in my opinion. And yeah, not all of these are bad characters. Not all of them are necessarily villains. I threw in a few protagonists and anti-heroes and misunderstood misfits, but the majority are, creepy villains and antagonists. I'm not including final girls or anyone like that. That might be on another list. So anyway, let's get into the horror icons, top 50. Starting with number 50, in my opinion, Samara Morgan from The Ring. The prototype for all creepy girls in white with the black hair. I just think she was just so much of that era and was so influential. The Ring movies, highly enjoyable. Number 49, Chucky. I'll be honest with you guys, I was never a huge fan of Chucky. Sorry, James. But I have to admit, he's an icon. He is an absolute icon. And we went to Halloween Horror Nights and went through the Chucky maze. That was a lot of fun. And you just got to admit, man, Chucky, he's a freaking icon. He's a little weirdo, little redheaded, scar-faced weirdo. But we love him. It would suck if you never had Chucky, Definitely not the most iconic on this list, but worth having a spot for sure. Number 48, giving some love to one of my all-time favorite directors, Mr. John Carpenter. We got Christine the Car. I used to have an ex-girlfriend named Christine. Shout out to Christine. But yeah, The Car, man, what a weird movie. That was definitely not one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, but it was still a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't think it was even one of John Carpenter's favorites. I think it was just one of those contractual obligation type movies. But I liked it. I think Christine was very cool. The practical effects still hold up to this day. If you really, really look at it, when Christine the car is all munched up and then, bends itself back into shape. Just really well done. Super, super unique Stephen King story adapted by the amazing John Carpenter. And one of these days I'll have to do a list on my favorite directors. We'll have to do a ranking list of directors. But John Carpenter's in my top 3 of all time. I love him. He's a genius. So yeah. Christine the Car. And this list is a little different too. I'll throw in stuff like that, a car and some other creatures. All right, number 47, The Black Phone, The Grabber, Ethan Hawke. I think The Black Phone was one of the best horror films of the last decade. I know it wasn't perfect, but it was really, really good. And I'm actually really excited about the second one. So if you disagree with me, whatever. But I think he's cool. I think he's a very unique character. Number 46, Candyman. Another one kind of like Chucky. Never a huge fan, but I respect him. I think he's definitely worth being on the list, or he's noteworthy enough, All right, number 45, same deal. Jigsaw from the Saw movies. Freaking icon. He really came in and shook things up. The Saw movies were very important. Again, not some of my favorites. I like them. I appreciate them, but they can be a bit much, but Jigsaw, definitely iconic. So he made the list. Number 44, Count Orlok, a.k.a. Nosferatu. The new one was kind of a mixed bag for me. I know some people loved it, some people fell asleep during it. Most people fell asleep during it. But it was a very beautiful movie. What's his name? Robert Eggers, I think, is the director. It was a beautiful freaking movie, definitely. But I think it was a little too much of a slow burn for my taste. I'm always kind of waiting for something more to happen. Robert Eggers films, with the exception of The Lighthouse, just tend to drag on, and I'm always kind of waiting for that payoff or that extra punch, and it never seems to happen. But I will say Nosferatu in the new one, with his dong hanging in his mustache, pretty creepy, pretty freaky, pretty iconic. So he made the list, and then of course we can just mix that in with the original Nosferatu from, I think, the early 1920s. Nosferatu, just iconic, you know? So he made the list. But the new one, beautiful movie, worth a watch, but a little boring. Sorry, don't shoot me. Don't suck my blood. All right, number 43, The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. That first Jeepers Creepers movie, man, pretty freaking cool. Haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember it freaked me out the first time I watched it. So The Creeper, I think, is a cool character. Excuse me. Number 42 on my list, Pennywise the Clown. And, man, if I had to decide between the old Pennywise and the current Pennywise, I think I'll go with the OG. I'll go with the original Pennywise. But both of them are creepy in their own way. Not the biggest fan of Pennywise or the It movies, but definitely worth being on the list. And I gotta be honest, actually getting 50 was tough. Like the first, I would say 35 were easy for me. It was a breeze. Making this list was super easy. And then beyond that, I would say the last, 35 to 50 was, searching IMDb, kind of getting ideas, figuring out who to put where. So that was a little tough. But once I get to 35, going down to 1, that was a breeze. So let's continue. All right, where'd we leave off? Pennywise, yep. 41, The Aliens in They Live. I just wanted to give a little more love to my boy John Carpenter. They Live is such a great movie, man. It's not necessarily like scary horror. It's more like campy, fun sci-fi. But I think those guys are iconic, and it really had great social commentary, and they're just fun. It's just a fun movie. Roddy Piper, badass. All right, number 40, Krampus. Krampus, a Christmas classic. I think Krampus is just such a unique character, and every year around the holidays I find myself being more and more intrigued with Krampus. So Krampus made my list. Number 39, Art the Clown from the Terrifier films. I think this is one of the most original horror icons we've gotten in like 25 years, maybe 30 years. He is really cool. I think they're good movies. I like them. I like the Terrifier films. I do kind of expect just a little bit more from them. Like the last one I watched, I think it went on a little too long, and I know that's the point. The point is for them to be gratuitous with the violence. That's what it's all about, and we love it for that. But I still think we haven't seen the best of Art the Clown and Damien Leone. I think we're getting there. I think the movies are getting better, but I don't think he's reached his pinnacle yet, But I am a fan. I'm definitely a fan. Fun fact, we went to Mad Monster Party. I think I went with James that year, and the actor that played Art the Clown was there, and I went into the restroom, and he was using the urinal next to me, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm taking a piss next to Art the Clown. He didn't have his makeup on. He was just a regular guy, but it was him. And so, went and washed our hands at the same time, and I was like, hey, Art the Clown, how you doing? He's like, hey, how you doing? But, took a piss next to Art the Clown. Not everyone can say that. But yeah, good movies, but I still think the best is yet to come with that character and that director. All right, number 38, King Paimon. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Paimon from Hereditary. Hereditary is one of the best horror films I've ever seen. I think it's one of the best modern horror films for sure. It's not necessarily the King Paimon character that I'm like, really enamored with or anything like that, but just the whole movie, the whole vibe of Hereditary is so creepy. So I wanted to attach someone from that film or some entity from that film to this list. But yeah, Hereditary, check it out. So unsettling, made me sick to my stomach. One of the best horror movies I've seen in a long, long time. But you're gonna have to balance it out with something funny like Seinfeld or Dumb and Dumber afterwards, because it is a buzzkill, let me tell you. But it's a very well-made horror film. And I don't say that often about new horror films. I'm very picky. All right, what do we have next? 37, Frederick Lauren, House on Haunted Hill, Vincent Price. I figured we had to give some love to the OG horror master, Vincent Price. Same thing with the next one on the list, 36, Professor Henry Jared from House of Wax. Another iconic one, Vincent Price character. That guy's a legend. I need to go back and just watch a bunch of Vincent Price movies. But I remember watching those two when I was a kid, specifically House of Wax when I was a kid at my grandma's house. And it wasn't necessarily like super scary, but it was just eerie, you know? There's just something about it that was enjoyable. It was accessible, like 1950s or early 60s horror, you know? All right, number 35, The Phantom of the Opera, the OG, the original from the 1920s silent film. Lon Chaney, I believe, portrayed the Phantom, the original Phantom. Eerie. Not necessarily scary, but just kind of eerie, and really good makeup, really good prosthetics. Not to be confused with the Joel Schumacher musical. But yeah, The Phantom of the Opera, the OG. 34, Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins. What more can I say? Amazing movie, iconic performance, iconic horror icon character. And you know an interesting fact about that? An interesting fact about Hannibal Lecter, that character was actually portrayed by another actor in a Michael Mann film in the 80s. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. I want to say it was like Night Stalker or something like that. Can't remember the name of it, but... Mindhunter? I don't know. I'm going to drop the title down below. I'll look it up later. But yeah, so actually Anthony Hopkins made it his own, but the character had already been out there a few years before in another film, which was interesting. All right, 33, Norman Bates from Psycho. Come on, dude. It doesn't get more Universal Studios than that. Norman Bates, Psycho. And you know what? I love Hitchcock. I think Hitchcock is great, but I gotta say, Psycho is not my favorite of his films. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's iconic. I think it deserves its place in history, in horror history, and cinematic history, but it's not my favorite by him. You know, every time I go back to it, I think it's great, but it's an A, not an A+. I think for Hitchcock, I prefer Rear Window and Vertigo. I prefer both those films over Psycho, but Psycho is still great. Norman Bates, iconic, big fan. 32, Harry Warden from My Bloody Valentine, the original. I had not seen this film until a few years ago, actually when we were doing it on the NOX channel. Yeah, we'd never seen My Bloody Valentine. I hadn't seen the newer 3D one either that they did in like 2008 or 2009. Remember that time where they were kind of bringing 3D back for a bit? It was kind of weird. But I'll have to check that one out. I'll have to see. They probably ruined it by making it 3D though. You know, if you try watching it at home, it probably sucks. But yeah, I think My Bloody Valentine was super cool. The original is great. Good, I believe, Canadian horror film. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that one, I would have loved to have seen Harry Warden become like Jason or like Michael, and we get a whole bunch of movies with him, you know? Missed opportunity, I think. It would have been cool to see My Bloody Valentines through the 80s into the 90s, you know? But yeah, big fan. 31, The Puppets from Puppet Masters. I feel like this is kind of an underrated one. Puppet Masters. I own all of them. I think they're fun movies. They're fun B-movie horror films. Check them out if you haven't. Just kick back, relax, and enjoy the puppets killing people. It's a lot of fun. You know what I like about Puppet Master? It kind of reminds me of like the Twilight Zone. I think that's why I like it so much. It's like an R-rated Twilight Zone. 30. Alex Forrest from Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close. I feel like we could do a whole video just on crazy bitches like the character Glenn Close was portraying in Fatal Attraction. Just every man's worst nightmare, you know? This psycho lady that latches on and tries to ruin your life and kill you. Yeah, great movie. Haven't watched it in a long time, but it was, yeah, it was intense. Check it out if you haven't seen Fatal Attraction. Number 29, David Powers, Kiefer Sutherland's character from The Lost Boys. Super iconic. Love The Lost Boys. One of my favorites from Joel Schumacher. Just an absolute masterpiece. Just a great 80s film. I love to go back to it just about every year and watch it. Iconic. So I had to have it on the list, definitely. All right, 28, my bad. Bruce the Shark from Jaws. Jaws, I think, is actually back in theaters right now for its 50th anniversary. Can you believe that? 50? It's like the first blockbuster, you know? I will have to go watch it. I'll have to go see Jaws on the big screen. I feel like it's still kind of fresh in mind, though. I just saw it like a year and a half ago, but I would like to see it on the big screen, definitely. Jaws, I mean, responsible for making kids scared to go in the swimming pool. Definitely responsible for making people scared to go in the ocean. Come on. Fun fact about Bruce the Shark, you cinephiles probably know this already, but it was named after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce. Fun fact. I don't know his last name, but... All right, where are we at? That was 28, Bruce the Shark. All right, 27, another Spielberg icon, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. I kind of put a slash on there saying T-Rex and the Raptors, because they're both scary in their own way. But if we had to pick one, I would say the T-Rex, that big, beautiful animatronic puppet mofo. Yeah, Jurassic Park, one of the best films of all time. It doesn't get much better than the original Jurassic Park. And I'm going to say, yeah, the T-Rex, absolutely terrifying. All right, 26, Annie Wilkes, Kathy Bates' character from Misery. Kind of in a similar vein to Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, just freaky. Just a fan that goes totally overboard and essentially tortures and holds her favorite author captive. If you've never seen Misery, another Stephen King adaptation masterpiece, check it out. It's one of the best horror suspense thrillers ever made, I think. James Caan, just awesome. Check out Misery. It's so freaking good. I can't recommend that movie enough. It's fantastic. All right, number 25 is kind of broad, but for my list, I think very important. I'm just putting zombies. Specifically, the zombies from Zombieland and The Walking Dead and 28 Days Later, and maybe a little bit of Shaun of the Dead. Those will be the prime examples. But zombies. There was definitely a phase, I would say about 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago, where just everything was zombies. It was just overkill. I was sick of it. Everyone was making zombie short films. It was obnoxious. But now enough time has passed, that shitty season has passed, and now I really appreciate zombies again. And like I said, I think the shining examples for my personal favorite zombies are Zombieland, 28 Days Later, The Walking Dead, and Shaun of the Dead. I think those are the best representations, definitely. Sirens. That's how you know it's a crazy Thursday night. Everyone's crashing into each other and killing each other. Classic. The zombies are on the loose. That was annoying. All right, let's continue. All right, so zombies. Love them. 25. 24. Werewolves. Generic werewolves. Specifically, though, the werewolves from Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers, dude, one of the best werewolf movies ever made, in my opinion. I would say if I had to do my top 3 werewolf movies, I would say An American Werewolf in London, Dog Soldiers, and The Wolfman, the original Wolfman. Those are the 3 best, in my opinion. But, yeah, those ones freaked me out as a kid, man. When I saw Dog Soldiers for the first time, I didn't sleep for a couple nights. I was so freaked out. Just a masterpiece. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It is one of the best, one of the absolute best werewolf movies ever made. Check it out. It's this weird, kind of lower budget Scottish film, and it's so freaking good, man. So freaking good. Check out Dog Soldiers. Number 23, Bill Paxton's character from After Dark, Severin. I hadn't seen this movie until just last year. Absolute freaking masterpiece, and Bill Paxton's character was just awesome. Kind of like a darker version of the Lost Boys, you know? It's very good. Number 22, The Thing. Again, we're going back to our boy John Carpenter. The Thing is one of the best films ever made. One of the best horror films for sure. One of the best films of the 80s. And it's finally getting a lot of love. Almost cliche love at this point where, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of adding it to their lists because it almost feels like an obligation now. But I truly think it is that good of a film, definitely. But it's kind of getting into that Shawshank Redemption territory where everyone's like, yeah, it's the best movie ever, yeah. But that's because it is among the best films ever. But yeah, The Thing. Freaky, amazing practical effects, so well done. Just a masterpiece. If you've never seen The Thing, do yourself a favor. Check it out. It's so freaking good. Even though it is getting very hyped up these days, it's actually worth the hype. It's very good. Never saw the remake or the sequel, whatever it was. Never saw it. 21. Here's a classic for you. The Headless Horseman. The Headless frickin' Horseman. Ichabod Crane, baby. Specifically for me, the Tim Burton incarnation. The Sleepy Hollow film. That Headless Horseman freaked me out, dude. So good. Walking with his axe, trying to, you know, find someone hiding underneath the floorboards. So freaking good. The Headless Horseman. All right. Number 20, Ash from The Evil Dead. Like I said, not everyone on this list is a bad guy. Ash is iconic. Bruce Campbell, love him. What more can I say? The Evil Dead films are a lot of fun. Army of Darkness, so good. You know what's kind of cool is a few years ago we went and saw Bruce Campbell do this like game show live. It was called something Last Fan Standing. It was like the short-lived game show thing he was touring around with. And my buddy James got an autographed Bruce buck or whatever it was. It was like money with Bruce Campbell on it. And it was fun. We went to this place called the Van Buren, this little venue in Phoenix, and saw him do it, and it was a blast. And there was Bruce Campbell, you know, like 50 feet away on stage. It was awesome. Maybe even closer, I don't know, 30 feet? He was right there, it was awesome. Could have thrown a shoe at him. Could have thrown a shoe at Bruce Campbell. All right, number 19, Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the one that actually comes to mind that I liked the most was the one with Jessica Biel. That newer version, you know, early 2000s Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The original, it's a classic, but I was really never that into it. I was kind of underwhelmed with it. I'm sure at the time it was very impressive, but the first time I saw the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was not really blown away by it. I should go back and revisit it though, for sure. But the Jessica Biel one, that Leatherface freaked me out, dude. That one freaked me out. That's the Leatherface I like. Number 18, Bride of Frankenstein. What a cutie. What a cutie. Yeah, I mean, she is so freaking iconic. She is one of the iconic Universal ladies, and I wish she got more screen time. Oh, I said scream time instead of screen time. I wish she got more scream time. Yeah, super iconic. Love her. I don't think she got any sequels. I don't think so. Not that I can think of. Correct me if I'm wrong. Watch, you guys are going to look, and they made like 8 of them I don't know about. All right, number 17, Frankenstein's Monster. Not to be confused with Dr. Frankenstein himself. Frankenstein's Monster. Yeah, we love Frankie. He's an OG, man. Definitely not my number 1 of the original monsters, but you gotta love Frankenstein, dude. He is just a staple of Halloween. He is a staple of Universal. He is an icon. So yes, big fan of all the original Universal monsters, and Frankenstein makes the list, definitely. Frankenstein's Monster. All right, number 16. Rusty Nail from Joyride. If you have not seen Joyride, it not only is one of my favorite horror and thriller films, but it's one of my favorite movies, period, that they've ever made. I love Joyride. Steve Zahn, Paul Walker, R.I.P., legend. But yeah, it is so cool. It's about these guys going on a cross-country road trip for this guy, Paul Walker, to meet the girl of his dreams. He gets his brother out of prison, Steve Zahn, one of my favorite actors. And yeah, they get stalked by this crazy freaking trucker named Rusty Nail. Rusty Nail. And it's a masterpiece. It is a hard 10 out of 10. Check it out if you've never seen it. It's one of the best movies ever. Number 15. All right, we're getting into the nitty-gritty here, guys. I cannot believe I forgot to mention some of these absolutely iconic horror characters. So here they are. We're turning this into a top 57 list with some very honorable mentions. First up, we got the Graboids from Tremors. I love Tremors. I've watched it so many times. I think I've watched it more times than Jaws. Nothing against Jaws, but I just love Tremors. I think it's completely underrated. So, Graboids made the list. Next up, we have the Crypt Keeper. This little weirdo was everywhere back in the day, and I heard somewhere that his eyes were actually recycled from Chucky from one of the Child's Play puppets. So, fun fact. The legacy continues. Let's move on with Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Nothing against Christy Swanson. She was fantastic, but Buffy to me is Sarah Michelle Gellar. Love her as Daphne. Have had a crush on her since I was a kid. She's one of the best. And of course, what horror icon list would be complete without Elvira? I'm ashamed that I forgot to add Elvira to my top 10. She is absolutely top 10 worthy. Elvira absolutely makes the list. Up next, we have Mr. Rod Serling, one of the OGs, one of the original horror icons. I think horror and sci-fi as a genre would not be the same without this absolute legend. So Rod Serling, 110%, makes the list. Love him. And last but not least, we have Mulder and Scully. I know some of you will say, well, they're strictly sci-fi. I disagree. If you were living in the X-Files, it would be pretty freaking terrifying. So I think they make the list as horror icons in their own right. These two are absolutely fantastic. Now, let's get back to the regular list. All right, number 15, Ghostface. I feel like from like 1996 to like 2006, that's all you saw was Ghostface masks. I don't know how it is now, but I feel like there's no originality now, so it's probably just the same shit being recycled like back then. But it seemed like every kid or every other kid had a ghost face mask. There were the ones that would glow in the dark, or ones that had like this little ball that you'd squeeze and it would make fake blood run down the face. But yeah, and there were the knives too with the fake blood built into them. But yeah, Ghostface, absolutely freaking iconic. The Scream movies, so good. You can't have a list like this without including Ghostface. I think it's just a must. So Ghostface, number 15, well deserved. Number 14, Dracula. Dracula, another one of the OGs. I do need to go back and watch the original Dracula. It's been a long time. I really want to watch the Mexican Dracula. I don't know if you guys know about that, but basically when they were recording the original at Universal Studios back in the day, the original Dracula film with Bela Lugosi, when they were done recording during the day, they would leave all the equipment out, and at night a Mexican crew and a Mexican cast would come in and record there. And they simultaneously used the same sets and produced both of these films. So there's the Mexican version and the American version of Dracula. And many people say that the Mexican version is superior. It's a better representation of Dracula. It's a little darker. It's a little more well done. So I would love to watch both of those side by side and maybe do a comparison one of these days. But I thought that was a fun little fact, that those were made side by side at the same time. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Dracula, what can you say? He's one of the freaking icons, right? He's on the Mount Rushmore of original Universal monsters. Number 13 for me, Alien. One of the xenomorphs from the Alien films. Just iconic, dude. Alien and Predator, those guys are right up there. Just some of the best puppets / practical effects / whatever you want to call them. Just amazing practical effects creatures. They're so good. Love Alien. Number 12, Freddy Krueger. My boy Freddy. Just an absolute legend. I feel like Freddy is also on the Mount Rushmore of creepy characters. Big fan. The original Nightmare on Elm Street, so freaking good. Some of the sequels, better than others, definitely, but there's some good ones for sure. But Freddy, gotta love him. Number 11, Jason. Those guys kind of go everywhere together, you know? Freddy versus Jason. Yeah, definitely a big Jason fan when I was a kid. He was never my favorite, but he's in the top 11. I'll give him that. Number 10. I do love Jason, though. Don't get me wrong. I love Jason. Number 10, Van Helsing. Big fan. The Hugh Jackman movie. An absolute blast. Loved it when I was a kid. I had a Van Helsing toy. I've always been a Van Helsing fan. I'm actually surprised with how they're rehashing and remaking every single thing ever made. It's only a matter of time until we get another Van Helsing. And you know what I think would be great? Bring Hugh Jackman back. He's not dead. He's not even that old. He's like in his 50s. Bring Hugh Jackman back. Let's get a Van Helsing sequel. I feel like they wouldn't have the balls to do it, though. They'd turn it into some shitty Disney Plus series or something that's like PG and stupid, and he'd be throwing paper stars at people instead of actually killing anyone. There'd be no stakes driven through anyone's heart, no big-titted vampires, you know. All the good stuff. All the good stuff. But that would be amazing, dude. I'm sure they'd cast, like, Timothée Chalamet or some shit like that, but I would love to see Hugh Jackman come back for Van Helsing. That would be amazing. So yeah, Van Helsing, number 10. What's cool is at the Chamber of Horrors or whatever it was called at Universal Studios back in the day, Van Helsing would lead you through the haunted house, which was really cool. And it was very short-lived. They did it for like 2 years, but yeah, Van Helsing. Ooh, you know what would be fun to do? I saw there was I was going to say for a Let's Play, I saw there was a PlayStation 2 game of Van Helsing that I never played back in the day, but it's on my Amazon wish list. So maybe one of these days we'll do a Van Helsing playthrough for you guys. Do a Let's Play. All right, number 9, The Invisible Man. One of my favorite Universal monsters. So freaking good. Claude Rains, amazing. And I think for its time, I think that was like 1932, 33, just so freaking well done. The special effects for that era, so freaking good. Obviously, you look at it now, and people can be a little hard on them and be like, oh yeah, it's primitive. But if you really take a look at it and think, man, this was made in the 1930s, it's remarkable. They did a really, really good job, and it still holds up to an extent. So yeah, love The Invisible Man, so freaking good. Hollow Man, also, Kevin Bacon, great freaking movie. But the original Invisible Man, big fan. Number 8, The Wolfman, the original Wolfman, so freaking good. Lon Chaney Jr., I believe. Saw him walking with the Queen. Yeah, freaking masterpiece. We rewatched it last year for Halloween for the NOX channel, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Obviously, it doesn't have scary elements really. It's more about the mood and the ambience and the special effects and the makeup. You know, the setting is really what's creepy about those films, and the transformation of him turning into the wolf is exciting. But those movies aren't really scary. There's really nothing scary about them. They, you know, you look at them from today's perspective, they're kind of boring in a way, but they're important films. I think they really laid the foundation for what horror was going to become in the future. So love The Wolfman. I have a soft spot in my heart for those movies. I think they're great. But yeah, The Wolfman, a lot of fun. Number 7, The Gill Man, aka Creature from the Black Lagoon, another favorite. It's hard to rank them, like, you know, who do I like more on any given day, the Wolfman or the Invisible Man or the Gill Man? But this is the list I came up with: Invisible Man, Wolfman, Gill Man. Creature from the Black Lagoon, number 7. What a fun movie, and the last Universal monster to pass away. The actor who did the underwater sequences was pretty young when he played the creature, and he just passed away a year or two ago. So the longest living Universal monster, original Universal monster anyway, because Creature came out like in the 1950s, so it was later. It was definitely later on in the run of horror films like that, monster films. Creature features. Number 6, Predator. Predator. You are one ugly motherfucker. But yeah, love Predator, one of the best films ever made. Predator's in my top 10 films ever. Like, not just scary or sci-fi or action, like, of all time, Predator is like in my top 10. I love Predator. One of Arnold's best films. John McTiernan, brilliant director, one of Arnold's best movies. Love it. But yeah, Predator. I actually enjoyed Alien vs. Predator too. I think it got a little bit of unwarranted hate. I do think now what they're doing with Predator and Prey, I don't know, kind of underwhelmed by it. It's not the worst. Like, Prey was okay, but I just don't believe some girl who wasn't that great of a hunter took down Predator. People that defended are like, well, he was weakened by all the other warriors and fur trappers and stuff. Okay, yeah, I think it's bullshit. I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't great. I'll give you that. It was good, it was watchable, but it was far from great. I'll go back and rewatch the 1987 classic any day. But I know they're coming out with another one too, Predator Badlands. Seems like they're kind of beating it into the ground. I don't know. But the original, nothing tops it. Number 5, Jack Torrance from The Shining. The Shining is one of those amazing films that you can just go back to every year and somehow it gets a little bit better. Every subsequent viewing gets a little bit better. It's like fine wine, you know? Just gets better and better. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, man. Actually, this theater right here, they brought The Shining back a couple years ago, and I watched it on the big screen, and there were so many different details that I hadn't noticed before. But yeah, just exceptional film. Love it. Stanley Kubrick. All right, number 4, Patrick Bateman. My boy, Christian Bale. I freaking love American Psycho. They can meme it to death. I don't care, man. I love American Psycho. I think it's so good. The book is fantastic, too. Bret Easton Ellis, one of my favorite authors of all time. It's a sickening read. I'll tell you that, though. It is like a disturbing freaking read. It is truly psychopathic, for sure. But the movie, I like even more than the book. A lot of people say, oh, I like the book better than the movie. I don't read that much, so I prefer the movies usually. But I think a reason why people usually say that, they prefer the book over the movie, is because when you're reading the book, it's the movie that you see in your head. Who's going to top that? Who's going to make it better than what you can envision yourself, you know? So yeah, usually with a book, you get a lot more time with the characters, you get a lot more explanation and little details, and you're in the world, you're immersed in it longer, and you're visualizing things and getting to know the characters. So yeah, I think that's why most people prefer the books over the movies, because it's a more intimate and personal experience. And the movie that you see in your head when you're reading the book is so personal, and no one else is going to actually see that, you know what I mean? But the movie obviously is open to different interpretations, but I love the film, man. American Psycho, freaking masterpiece. Never saw the sequel with Mila Kunis. Don't really care. But the original, man, I go back to it just about every year. I think it's so good. Number 3, The Terminator. The original Terminator, 1984. Yes, that is a horror icon, absolutely. Now, the thing about the original Terminator it's always hard to pick. Do I like the first one better or do I like the second one better? It's almost like you can't pick. You know what I mean? They're both brilliant in their own way. But of course, it's a huge difference because in T2, Arnold's a good guy, and T1, he's the villain. If I had to pick, gun to my head, really, I would pick the first Terminator as my favorite. But I do love Terminator 2, don't get me wrong. They're like this. They're both magnificent in their own way. But I would pick the first Terminator because that was one of the first movies that got me into film, that got me interested in acting and video production, and just made me a huge lifelong Arnold Schwarzenegger fan and James Cameron fan. Well, at least 80s and 90s Cameron. But yeah, dude, the Terminator is terrifying. Just think of a Terminator chasing you. That's like super scary. Which do you think would be worse? A predator chasing you? Like the alien? Or, you know, the creature? Or a Terminator? Man, I don't know. That's tough. If I was near some kind of factory with like an industrial compress, then maybe I'd be okay with the Terminator. But I guess I'd say Terminator. Now, if it was a T-1000 though, shit, I'd probably go for the Predator. I'd go for the Predator. Tough choices. So the Terminator, one of the best horror icons of all time, in my top 3 for sure. Love the Terminator. I wish James Cameron would go back to making films like that because we're sick of the Avatar movies. Sure, they're fun, they're fine, but I feel like he's wasting his potential and wasting his golden years on those blue people, you know? I digress. All right, number 2, Imhotep from The Mummy, 1999. Yes, of course, Boris Karloff, the original Mummy, fantastic, fantastic makeup. It set the tone for The Mummy. Obviously a little slow, a little boring because it was, you know, made back in the day, but we got to give it respect. It laid the foundation for The Mummy, so we love the original. But my favorite, my personal favorite, is The Mummy, 1999. Imhotep, Arnold Vosloo, so freaking good. And like I said, just one of the best movies ever made. Like, it is action, it's adventure, it's horror, it's a little bit of everything. So, yes, the original Mummy is an absolute freaking masterpiece. All right, now on to number 1, guys. I think you guys already know. If you're already a fan of the channel, you guys know who I'm going to pick. Michael Myers from the Halloween series. Mr. Michael freaking Myers. Really one of the first slasher horror icons that got me into horror films. I got into the Halloween films probably a little too young. I was probably about 8 when I really got like obsessed with them. 8 or 9, and I remember going on a road trip with my family, and we had a portable VHS player, and we were taking a road trip to New Mexico, and I watched all of the Halloween films I could get my hands on. And I believe we had Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, Curse of Michael Myers, and Halloween H2O, and Halloween Resurrection. So I watched like freaking like seven of them. And yeah, I was a huge Michael Myers fan from that point on, and I still am. I think he is one of the best. Obviously the last film was trash, but majority of them I love. And of course, going back to the original 2, John Carpenter, so freaking good. But yeah, Michael takes the number 1 spot, guys. Michael takes the number 1 spot. So that is my list. Agree with me, disagree with me, love me, hate me, whatever. Comment. The engagement really helps, guys. But what do you think of my list? I think it was pretty damn good. And like I said, I had to kind of flesh it out. 35 down to 1 was super easy, but 35 up to 50, I had to kind of, you know, look around and get kind of creative. But I think it was a solid list. Definitely. I think it was this is blown away. I think it was a solid list for sure. Thank you guys for sticking with me, though. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon. I know YouTube has this thing now where they want paid memberships, where you can become like a member. Check that out down below. I think you can sign up for like $1 and support the channel, and I don't know, maybe it'll give us some help with the algorithm, because the algorithm's been a bitch lately, let me tell you. So make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, sharing, drop a comment. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else to say, but I am a big fan of this list, and I'm super proud of it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know if you like this format, definitely. I like it. It's super easy for me. I chill at a little cafe and hang out in front of the movies, and it's super easy. So I like this format, definitely. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me rant about horror icons, and remain unfazed. Good night. Or good morning, whatever time it is. Bye.